Just a little under 2 years ago, I put out a video comparing the Giro Switchblade to the Bell Super 3R. At this time, convertible full face helmets were really coming out in force as the new go-to for enduro racing and big days on the bike. After nearly 2 years of having the Giro Switchblade as my everyday go-to helmet, I can officially say I'm done with convertible full face helmets. Let's talk about why. Overall, I think the Switchblade has been a solid helmet. It offers a really high level of protection compared to a lot of other trail helmets, has a quality build, and some other really great features that set it apart. So why after 2 years, most of which I really enjoyed the helmet for, have I decided that I'm done not only with the Switchblade, but convertible full face helmets as a whole? Well, part of it does come down to some deficiencies I feel I found in the Switchblade, and in turn in convertible full face helmets. But another part of it comes with the emergence of a new type of enduro full face helmet. Helmets like the Fox Proframe approach this category in a different way. Instead of doing two helmets in one like the Switchblade and many other helmets like it, the Proframe and these new wave of enduro helmets, they still stick with a single helmet non-convertible system. I'll be framing this discussion through comparison of my Giro Switchblade to the Fox Proframe, which I've been lucky enough to get to ride for the past 2 weeks thanks to my buddy Trey loaning me his. Now, I understand that the Giro doesn't speak for all convertible full face helmets, but I do think it speaks to issues that convertible full face helmets, regardless of what brand you're looking at, may face. One of the first things I want to go ahead and touch on is these helmets in regards to enduro racing or big days on the bike. For the Switchblade, which in full face form has a little thinner padding and some more ventilation than a typical full face helmet, I still think it's a little hot and a little bit too heavy to be comfortably pedaled over an extended period of time. So that leaves you with the option of removing the chin bar. And this is typically what I would do with the Switchblade, particularly at enduro races, but also when I was out riding really big days and there's just a longer climb ahead of me. I would remove the chin bar and just hook it around the strap on my pack and carry it up the mountain with me that way. The thing about this is even without the chin bar, the Switchblade is a really hot and heavy helmet. If you look at it, it's pretty clear that it's still got a lot of coverage even when you remove the chin bar, and you're actually only removing one set of padding. So while directly in front of your face does clear up a little bit, the overall weight and heat of the helmet doesn't change all that much. Just as a little side note, I think the Switchblade without the chin bar is actually my favorite form of this helmet. And I think it makes a really great helmet if you're just looking to go out and do jumps and jibs or maybe some bigger free ride lines. So even without the chin bar, the Switchblade doesn't feel as comfortable as I think a helmet geared towards longer days on the bike should really be. Now let's compare this to the Fox Proframe I've been using for the last few weeks. And the difference is pretty surprising. The increase in ventilation on the chin bar of the Fox Proframe is pretty apparent when you compare it to the Switchblade. And with that, it stays much cooler and more well ventilated. But perhaps the biggest way I notice a difference between the Switchblade and the Proframe in this category is in the weight. The size medium Proframe I rode comes in at 735 grams, whereas the size medium Switchblade comes in at 1120 grams. So there's a pretty big difference in the weight of these two helmets, and it really translates, at least for me, to how you ride and feel on the trail with them on. And when I ride the Switchblade, especially on longer rides, it's kind of always giving me neck pain. I've always kind of felt the weight of it, typically on longer rides or days I'm doing enduro races with it on. With or without the chin bar, really. It's just a heavier helmet and it's a hotter helmet like I was saying earlier. Whereas with the Proframe, I've done some pretty long days on it since I've been using it the last few weeks, and I have not had the same issue really at all. It feels much more like the typical trail helmet for me, and I just notice it quite a bit less. If there's one thing I'll say about the Proframe that I really do notice while I'm riding, and this is kind of a product of it having a chin bar in general, is these cheek pads definitely can become kind of hot spots. And that, for me at least, has been where sweat will build up over longer rides. So I'm not going to sit here and say it feels exactly like a half shell helmet. I think part of the reason that the Proframe is able to be so much more well ventilated and lighter than the Switchblade is because it doesn't have to focus so much on covering weak points from being a convertible helmet. I feel like the Switchblade kind of has to overbuild in certain spots to really make sure that it's still as protective of a helmet with and without the chin bar. So that leads me to my next point in this discussion, and one that arguably applies the most to all convertible helmets. And that is the effect of having to build a helmet around being convertible and how that shows in the Switchblade. The Switchblade is downhill crash test rated and certified, and that was one of my reasons for picking it over the Super 3R initially. My issue comes less with how I feel about the safety of the Switchblade right out of the box, and more with issues that started to develop over about 6 months of use. Because of the way the Switchblade is designed to be convertible, downhill rated or not, it's going to have issues that will arise in it that you wouldn't find in full face specific helmets. The Switchblade has different jointed and latch on areas to fix the chin bar to the helmet. These areas of movement will naturally create weak points. My two issues with this are the overall security of the chin bar in an impact situation and the stress that these latching points put on the helmet. 6 months into use of the Switchblade, without any big impacts or huge crashes, I started to notice movement in the panels where the chin bar latches. It's even more noticeable with the chin bar in, and as far as I can tell, this is a direct result of the chin bar removal and install system. Going through this movement over and over and having this different piece that's latched into here has created certain weak points that are starting to come apart, and in my opinion, in an impact or in repeated impacts, would not hold up as well as a system that's fully designed to be one complete helmet rather than this two helmets in one detachable chin bar system. The Proframe in comparison is not designed with removable and moving parts. Like I said earlier, this is my friend Trey's helmet, and he's had this one for about a year, so past the point that I started noticing these issues in the Switchblade. And as far as I can tell from any movement I've tried to get out of it, the helmet is still completely solid. Along with this, in direct impact situations on the chin bar, you're not going to get nearly as much flex, and it's going to disperse more directly throughout the helmet. Now, I think any full face, if you're repeatedly impacting the chin bar, you're going to have issues there eventually. But if you look at some other tests, a good review you can go read is on EnduroMTBmag.com, and they do a lot of helmet testing, and two they actually work on are the Proframe and the Switchblade. Switchblade has a very sturdy chin bar for a convertible helmet system, but it really doesn't stack up to how sturdy the system with the Proframe is because it's built to be that way. It's not built to be removed, so if the trail's trying to remove it for you, you might run into some issues. In general, I feel like the Proframe had to make less compromises than the Switchblade or other convertible helmets to achieve its goals. The Proframe, of course, does not match the all-out safety of a full-on downhill helmet, but I think it maximizes the middle ground between safety and all-day use a bit better than the Switchblade. Before we wrap it all up, I'll flip the script real quick and talk about some things I think that the Switchblade does better than the Proframe. The first of these is I really like the dial-in fit on the Switchblade. Now, this is something you more typically find on trail helmets than downhill helmets, but I really enjoy the fact that you can dial in the back of the helmet to really make it fit a bit more snug. This is opposed to the Proframe, where each size is just going to have the fit and there's no dial to really get it any tighter. It does come with a change of pads, so you can put thicker pads in there. And I guess that's one way to adjust the fit and how the helmet feels. But I do really like the dial-in system, even if it's not something you always see in full faces. Along with that, I think the visor system on the Switchblade is considerably better than the visor system on the Proframe. And that's because there really isn't a visor system on the Proframe. There's a visor, but there's absolutely no movement or adjustment to it. I do prefer that with the Switchblade, you can actually move it up and down a little bit. And for someone like me, that helps a little bit with adjusting where this GoPro that I put under the visor sometimes fits. As well as that, they also send you two visors with the Switchblade helmets, and one of them has a GoPro mount built into it. So just kind of a nice other little touch if you're trying to get some GoPro footage. Wrapping this whole deal up, the Fox Proframe has led me to officially turn my back on convertible full face helmets. Don't limit this to just the Switchblade. And I'll say one more time, just because I haven't been able to ride all the convertible full face helmets, I can't 100% say these issues persist in all of them. But I feel the compromises a convertible full face helmet like the Switchblade has to make really hold it back from being able to compete with this new wave of lightweight full face helmets like the Fox Proframe. In terms of the overall combination of safety, breathability, solid construction, and minimal weight penalty, I think this new wave of full face enduro helmets have really replaced convertible helmets as the go-to for enduro racing and big days on the bike. With all of that, I am on the hunt for my new race/aggressive riding days kind of helmet. I'm definitely liking the Proframe quite a bit and could see myself using it for everything from enduro racing to days at Windrock Bike Park and other big park riding. But I'm not completely set on it. I'm definitely interested to look at some other options, particularly the Troy Lee designed Stages helmet that just came out. Or I see there's an offering coming up from Endura that looks awfully similar to the Proframe, but I wouldn't mind checking it out. So if you have any experience riding some of these lightweight full face helmets, let me know down below what you think of them. Other than that, I just want to say thanks so much for joining me as we continue on with this channel thing. I'm always looking for your feedback on what you guys want to see. Maybe it's more riding or maybe it's just more stuff like this. Once again, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you real soon. And until next time, stay shreddy, my friends.